Hi, welcome back to my channel. This series is focusing on mastering change in just a few minutes. These are just concepts to consider within your organization as you lead the change, as you start to explore what does this modern day workforce work look like? What does fractional work look like in our organization? What does changing technology that will continue to advance at a very fast pace look like in our organization? And utilizing these tools will create agile teams that can adapt at any point in time. It doesn't have to be chaotic, and change actually can be very welcoming and aid in your operation, but we have to begin to utilize the right tools that are needed within your operation and the situation that you may have be going on. So the one I want to talk about today is called the force field analysis. And interestingly enough, I came across this when I was working with an organization, and they were trying to figure out why there was so much resistance to the change that they were doing, because the workforce was actually asking for it. And then when they presented it, it was basically resisted. And part of it was they didn't do their homework before they started rolling it out. So the force field analysis is a great way to evaluate and identify what will be the forces that drive change within this situation or within your organization, and which ones are going to be restraining in this change initiative. And identifying those early will begin your action plan in rolling out the change versus putting a blanket statement out there and assuming everyone will follow. We all know that people follow energy. They follow change when there's a plan. So doing this homework ahead of time will get rid of some of those draining moments along change initiatives and also onboard people who want to follow. So the first step you're going to take in this practice is you're going to identify the change. So example, let's talk about flex work schedule. I'm doing a lot of work with clients on how do we get to a flex work schedule? How do we maybe even do 4-day work weeks? What does fractional work look like in our organization? So these are big shifts in the workforce, but it's happening, and it's happening fast. By 2030, 50% of the workforce is going to be fractional, which means your experts will be across multiple organizations just doing that value add work. That sounds amazing, but how does your operation get there? And those are the baby steps you need to be taking in 2025 to start getting to that 50% workforce, because otherwise you're not going to be able to attract top talent. That doesn't mean all your workforce or actual 50% of your specific workforce will be fractional work. It just means you need to be taking steps, because some of your top performers are going to jump on that. And if you are not ready in your operation, they're going to find somewhere else to go with that fractional work, value add function. And I would love for you to keep them as your own fractional worker. So the first thing is define change. Let's just take the scenario of flexible work. The second step you're going to take is identifying the driving forces. So these are the things that support the change. So in the flexible work example, it's work-life balance. It's daycares shutting down. So parents literally don't have care for their kids. They need some kind of flexibility to take care of their children because they no longer have access to daycare. There's people that have aging parents, and obviously with the medical healthcare situation, that can be really expensive, so they need to take care of their parents or take them to appointments. All different scenarios. Identifying these driving forces specific to your organization is going to be important to have these conversations at a department level. I have been in many conversations like this where the strategic team or the executive team or the senior management team is like shooting darts blindly. They're saying things that I'm like, I just talked to your team 2 days ago on a different project, and they would never say something like this. So having genuine conversations about this is going to aid you later, because you're going to hit the mark. So what is the driving force of this change? Why is it coming up? Step number 3, identifying the restraining forces. So we just identified the driving forces. Why is this change needed? And now we're going to talk about identifying restraining forces. So these are the things that are going to be resistant. These are the barriers you're going to have in your organization, which could be how your product flows. It could be the software and systems that you have maybe aren't capable. It might be you just don't have the talent to do that, or you haven't been recruiting for engaging teams, so you need to start that type of skill set and recruiting for that. So the hurdles I see in flexible work schedules that are coming up is non-traditional approaches. It's really hard to break that mold because there's people that have paid their time, right? There's other parents in maybe the boomer generation or the Gen X generation that did not get this luxury of flexible work. And I feel that because I know the struggle of being a working parent and how awful it is when kids are sick, when school is out, when you're just trying to juggle everything. And they didn't have that. And nothing can replace that. So taking some time on really hearing people out and then getting them on board to reduce that restraint. So for example, in that specific scenario, I have talked to team members about what would you have wanted from your employer to make that work? To make, at the end of the day when you're just drained and your kids just need a little bit of your parenting and you are cashed out because you've been running around all day, what would have made that better? And that's how we're setting up the next generations. So getting them on board to, making the next generation a little less stressed kind of creates a cohesive community within your organization. So that's specific to the flexible work schedule. And then what other new hurdles will you run into? Because we know remote work does not work if you don't have good trust, good systems, good communication. It's low productivity at home. But if you have good communication, awesome trust, really good cross-department collaboration, remote work is actually more efficient. So identifying those restraining factors. So step 1, we identified the change. Step 2, we identified driving forces. And step 3, we identified the restraining forces. Step 4 is we're going to analyze and prioritize. So you're going to rank these 1 through 5, 1 through 10, and you're going to see which one has the most impact. So we go through each driving force one by one. 1 is very low impact. Like if we would do this change, the driving force behind it is mild. Maybe it's like, people can flex their holidays, right? That's very mild because we already get off holidays. Maybe working parent is more like a 4, which is like the highest impact. Like we can recruit for working parents if we do this, or we can recruit with top talent that most likely will be working parents, whatever the scenario is. I'm just using some stories that I've heard from clients. And then I want you to go over to restraining forces and do the same thing. Is it low impact? Rated a 1. If it's high impact, rated a 4. Now, the key to this analyzing and prioritizing is going to be facilitation of this discussion because people will take it personally. So again, I'm a working parent. If they want to downgrade that discussion, I need to be okay with that because again, we're talking about a change for the organization, not just Kelly. So really setting the stage as a facilitator for this discussion is going to be important. I always suggest as I work with clients that this is a good time to bring me in because I'm a third party. I don't know everyone's situation and they can hate me. I don't work here. But what I want to go at is if your organization needs this change because of a certain outcome that they want, I can drive that conversation in ways that make people a little less defensive. And again, they don't know me. I'm not their boss. They don't have to work with me in the future and have all this disdain around that conversation. So it's a really good time to bring a third-party facilitator in, hone down why this is going to move forward or why people are going to hold it back. So once you analyze and prioritize based on impact, you're going to make an action plan. And you're going to make an action plan on the biggest impact items. So that is your force. That means you're going to start with the 4s first. Why are the 4s driving? Why are the 4s resisting? And really dig down to root causes of that. And then you'll create your action plan. So this will help make more balanced decisions forward. And why you want to do that is you might be spending a lot of time on the 1s, and those are wishy-washy. That just maybe depends on the day, and maybe it's raining out and people were kind of angry and brought up that comment. You want to focus on the 4s. Those are your drivers. Those are your biggest restraints of change. So step 1, identify the change. Step 2, identify your driving forces. Step 3, identify your restraining forces. Step 4, now you rate them by impact. And then step 5, make an action plan on the biggest impact items. Doing this step will get ahead proactively on identifying those driving and restraining forces that you might have through change and lead steps in the initiative versus reactive to people's emotions or new comments that come up. And when you can do that, there's a cohesive community that comes around change and creates more innovative ideas, and you can be more creative on this journey instead of a few people always driving change. Change is happening, change is here. It's how you do it that matters.